Hello, Frumily, and welcome to Victor's Lunchbox, a From podcast by your friends at APNG. This week we're recapping Season 3, Episode 4, There and Back Again, where we have Randall literally waiting on the bus, some light cannibalism for some sort of demon spawn, and the continued joys of the Matthews family. I'm your host, Jack, and with me my lovely wife, Diana, and in the words of Victor, I don't want to do this alone. It's going to be scary, and you're the scariest person here, so you won't be scared.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so glad that I can be here as the scariest person to keep you company during this ghost story. I'm excited to be back, missing Michelle, but she'll probably be back with us again next week. And Jack and I are here to go through all the fun. This was a fun episode. It was very eventful, very
Yes.
exciting.
I know, but you know people are going to be a little upset that we didn't get any creatures caught yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't move forward in that many ways. Like, it was kind of like all the things we've been waiting for to happen, and we didn't get the Henry Victor reunion yet. They're still kind of pushing us along, probably till next week, I'm guessing.
I have to ask you before you go deeper, just because I feel like people are getting concerned about this now. Are they going to do something where Victor gets to like meet his dad for like 18 seconds? We're like, oh my goodness. And then,
Yeah, and then there's the end of Henry.
yes,
That was
precisely.
it. Just hi quickly, and that was it. Okay, like haven't seen you in 30 years, 40 years.
But see, I would say that's what like a crappy show would do. And I feel like the writing has started to really go uphill like this season, where I don't know that they're going to make that kind of, I don't know, amateur kind of run of the mill.
Yeah, well, there's
decision.
a moment where, when Tabitha's back, and we'll get into this, but when she's back and she's talking about, that she failed in her mission, she didn't understand the paintings and everything like that. And in another way, it seems like maybe she didn't fail the mission. She's got Henry here. That's a huge thing. But I don't know. Is there something that we don't know about Henry? Is there something that we're missing about that relationship? Is Victor going to see him and something big happen, or he's not who we think he is?
Well, and we'll have to get into this also, but I think that goes back to the whole Matrix kind of idea that Tabitha was going nuts with at the end of the last episode.
Yeah, so a lot remains to be seen. I'm not going to be eating any body parts or drinking anyone's blood today, but we have a lot to look into. So should we just get into it, Jack?
Yeah, I don't know that you won't be eating body parts or drinking blood. I don't feel as confident in that as you.
I am the scariest one here, as
I mean,
we've
that's
determined.
that's the real
Sarah
point
and
of it.
I, we do murder the people we love, so careful now.
Now, will it be a pleasant murdering by love or an unpleasant murdering by love?
I mean, this isn't like Thelma and Louise here, but we'll see. So we start off where we left off in the last episode with the ambulance coming across the tree. And of course, just like we would expect, Tabitha knows what the tree is and is trying to warn the EMTs and the cop. And of course, they're not listening to her because
Well,
why
she does sound crazy.
I mean, she is considered a crazy person who's been in the hospital and who ran away from the hospital. So is there anything you could say in that moment, Jack? Like, if it was you and you were the one who had been in this Fromville and you knew what was going on, what would you say?
If I'm Tabitha in that situation?
What can you say to actually make people believe you're not crazy, but that you actually know something, like that there is this crazy experience?
I'm going to give her a little bit of a break because she was just in a car accident.
Yeah, fair.
So we'll give her a little break. But, that's a great question. I would say, I think I would really try and do more, even in that tense moment in an ambulance. I think I would be doing more of like, listen, this is going to sound fucking nuts, okay? But I need you to just what's the worst that happens if you trust me? She didn't go that route with the like, what's the worst that happens? So we keep driving and we're on the wrong road. Like,
right, prefacing everything, saying that, hey, I know this is going to sound
Yes,
crazy. I am
exactly.
sane, so I get it.
yes.
But the crazy thing is real this
But
time.
she had that in her mind when she was talking to Henry with the like, this sounds fucking nuts. So I do think like the shock of of Henry and am I actually in a simulation or whatever it is, you know, I feel like we got to give her the benefit of the doubt. Something her husband never does for her.
Hey, her husband is worried about her and not really worried about his kids anymore. So let's just get
Is that
that.
should that be a message to all men out there? Wife or kids, but you can't be.
You can't have both. You just can't have both. Well, little Thomas has called. Thomas is calling and talking to Ethan now.
So one quick thing before we get into Thomas, this like reveal air quotes by Jim, like, oh fuck, the phone isn't. Wait a second, the phone is not attached to anything? Oh my God. After seeing lights that go into the earth and end in dangling cords. I mean, I assumed we had regular phone service.
I didn't ever think to rip the phone out of the wall.
I mean, that's a little ridiculous, but do you think that that's magic or whatever the entity is kind of like
I mean, this town isn't run by, the regular, LADWP is not here with the electricity, it's or Con Ed coming in. There's no
although the
communication.
LADWP makes you feel like you live in Fromville
Yeah, you
sometimes.
might as well, except they charge you more. But I don't think that it matters. Like, I think they can communicate with you however they want. They're choosing the phone as the method because it's easy. But I don't know where they're, quote, calling from. I don't know where this and who the entity is. Is it the same person as like the
Or
person who creature
being,
who was
whatever.
in Boyd's wife? Is it somebody we've seen and they do this, or is this just a voice from a regular monster?
Well, let me ask you this: is creepy not Thomas? Is he does give the heads up of Tabitha's in an ambulance?
Yes.
And she was, and it seemed like a heads up of like, hey, it's about to get dark.
Might want to go save your mom.
You might, yeah, you might want to head outside. So I just feel like I don't know. My working theory as we watch this, I think we're dealing with separate entities because I don't think the boy in white, let's say for example, is a dark figure. I think he might be related to dark figures, but I don't know that. I don't believe he is a dark figure himself.
So there's an interesting line when this fake little Thomas character on the phone first he's talking to Ethan, and then of course Jim grabs the phone and wants to hear, and he says, what are you doing to my kids? And I think it's interesting. Thomas says to him, they're not his children anymore.
What? Yes,
What does that mean? Are they
me,
from children?
Yeah, I think that was sort of like, listen, Jim, you fucked up. Kids are ours now. And then you get the, or maybe it would be more like that one cowboy who has replaced Smiley as the Mr. Monster with the, seems like you done fucked up now, Jim. Kids ain't yours no more.
Oh, so creepy. That's creepy. Yeah, so I don't know. Does that mean are they sort of the kids that Tabitha has been seeing, those little creepy
The Uncouie children?
Uncouie children? Is that what they're going to become? Are they just saying like nobody has kids here?
I just want to throw out
Is it
that
because Julie's not even really a kid anymore? I mean, how old is she at this point?
that's an interesting point, but I mean, your kids are always your kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
But apparently not in Fromville.
well, according to this disembodied, creepy, dead child voice, I mean,
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, the voice does warn them that Tabitha's coming in an ambulance. So, I
Now
don't know. Is that setting up? Can they, well, let's go to this. So, Randy and Boyd are on the bus.
well,
right?
wait, before you do that, I just want to, do you want to handle the, just the ambulance first?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that you and I called it.
Oh, we
and
totally
I'm
predicted.
sure a lot of our wonderful listeners. Also, hey, shout out. Our numbers are fantastic, and thank you to all of our new fans. But that opening, you and I called it last week. It was the two guys are going to get out, try and help someone. There's going to be a monster in the road or something, which there was. And we knew that the lady EMT was going to survive.
Who's
Now-
actually a cop, I realized.
Oh,
she's
she's
the
a cop?
and the two guys
Gotcha.
were EMTs, and like we predicted, they died very quickly.
Okay, I guess this explains the. Yeah, okay. Oh, right. An EMT wouldn't have a gun, so
Yeah,
right,
exactly. I
right.
was thinking that too.
That was so sad, though. So they're altruistic. Let's go help this poor woman
Yeah.
while we're on this weird road, and then it's just like, no, we're gonna rip. It was very bloody.
Yeah, they really ripped out his guts
Do you
completely.
think? Now, obviously, people are going to be upset with this new person who's firing the weapon, but she gets it pretty harsh from everybody. And granted, look, Nikki, we hardly knew ye. We saw you be an asshole, then apologize for being an
You
asshole,
can have
and
the bathroom all you want now, bitch.
because now you did.
You can go put yourself in the dead
The
crops. Yeah,
compostable
you are now
pile.
compostable yourself. So thank you for helping fertilize the earth.
But clearly, we got that little look into Nikki because she was going to get shot and killed.
She couldn't have been completely random. We had to know her. We just didn't have to give a shit about her.
Are people really going to be holding a grudge against this new character, the cop?
I don't, I mean, everyone comes into this town and does something stupid and fucks up, right? That's the whole
Every
thing. You
single
come in
time.
and you don't know where you are and you think this is, you can't imagine what this actually is. So you
Hence
come in and you
the-
make big mistakes.
Hence the flipped over pickup truck and the empty pool.
Exactly. And I'm saying nobody really cares about Nikki. I mean, Donna cries over her, but I mean, even Tilly doesn't bat an eyelash and is more worried about Fatima than dead Nikki.
Look, I'm not somebody who's like, please, yo, kill off one of the main characters. I'm not a fan of that, but like, I could have done with someone we've seen a little bit more. I mean, this was, but
No, it was
but
perfect
it
for
wasn't.
me.
But the point, why? Because you just
Because we met her, we didn't really like her. And so we got to watch her die. We also got to watch Marielle. Like, I don't know, we're going into this, but
it's
Marielle's
it
CPR
reminds-
skills. I take CPR every 2 years, and this was not very well done, if you ask me.
I just wanted to say Nikki's arc reminds me of like a Boy Meets World arc for like one of the girls who was a girlfriend to one of
For
the
2
boys.
episodes.
Yeah, for 3 episodes, whatever, and then they're just gone.
Yeah. Like, thanks, Nikki. You played your role well. I feel like, yes, if this was The Walking Dead, we would see her. And, remember in The Walking Dead, they do those, in memoriams of the characters and of the zombies. I feel like she gets her own little in memoriam. Or on Talking Dead, right?
Yes,
They would do
yes,
that.
yes.
She gets her own in memoriam. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you. It's been real.
But I brought us back for a second. Where did you move
Well,
forward
so I
to?
was just talking about Boyd and Randy being on the bus
Oh,
together, right?
yes,
So
okay.
Boyd wants to switch spots. I keep calling him Randy. Randall doesn't want to switch. He's going to stay there. But he talks about how these monsters all have patterns. And I think that's a really interesting thing because he has been sitting there watching. These monsters have patterns, they have routines, and they weren't happening now.
Now let me ask you something about that because Boyd takes like I don't want to say exception, but Boyd's a little squirrely at the thought of, dude, I told you I was taking the bus. What are you doing? Why are you still here? So, do you? Why is Randall sticking around?
Well, Randall does want to find a way out of this. And I think Randall, I don't know, maybe he's also scared to go anywhere but the bus. Maybe this is his safe zone at this point. I mean, I think he's scared of the cicadas coming after him, even though I guess they can come on the bus because they're not real. They're hallucinations, imaginary. I don't know what they are. But he's been watching. So he does see the routines. And I think that is helpful for him to be there. I mean, he does want to help. I think he's just an ornery kind of oppositional person, but he still does want to help. He references kind of if you'd seen what he'd seen, you wouldn't want to go anywhere. I think he doesn't want to go anywhere else.
We've been watching Daryl Dixon, and it just hit me. This is the Norman Reedus comp on this show.
He would be Randall
Yes.
in this. Yeah.
Think
Kinda
about
on
it.
my own.
Yeah, yeah.
Living on my own.
The only difference is Randall doesn't talk like this. Ah.
Thank goodness.
But it's a similar thing. Now, I feel like this is a somewhat unpopular opinion. I think Randall, like you're pointing out, is scared. He's made this bus his home. I think he does want to be helpful. I don't think he wants to hurt anybody. I think he's very shut off. He feels like a guy who didn't have a lot of close people in his life, so he has those walls up. Almost like a bit of someone who's been locked up.
Yeah, and he has a
vibe.
360 view, so he kind of has every, he has all the windows, so he can see everything that's going
Well,
on.
tell me that doesn't sound like someone who's been in prison
Yeah, it's
that
like I gotta
wants
have,
the
I'm
full
gonna sit in
view.
the corner so I have a
Yes,
whole view of everywhere.
exactly.
I mean, like mafia style. You
So
want to sit in the corner so nobody can come up behind you.
yes, well, I think in some ways being able to see the full 360 picture is comforting to Randall because he knows, okay, this is their shtick. This is what they're going to do. The milkman comes here. The nurse goes here. She's going to hum outside the door and drive me fucking nuts for a few minutes.
Well, so him talking about this routine that he's been aware of and this pattern, this is what I was talking about earlier with the fake Thomas phone call telling Ethan about the ambulance coming, and we're wondering why isn't the pattern happening? How big is this kind of conspiracy of these monsters? How much of the setup is this? Do they know that, like, they're telling Ethan on purpose because they want him or Jim or whoever it is to go and try and save Tabitha? Do they know it's going to all come back around to them being able to get Randall? Like, is it all part of a master plan? How
By
much
the
of it?
monsters.
Yeah, by the monsters.
I don't think it's the monsters who are pulling the strings here.
It's something using the
Yes.
monsters.
Yeah, or or
Right.
controlling whatever it is.
But how big, that's what I'm asking, is how big is that conspiracy, that manipulation? Do they
It's
know
enormous.
that if, do they know how all the puzzle pieces will fall? If Jim runs to go get Tabitha, Tabitha's
see.
locked up, then
You're
Boyd has to
saying-
go. Do they know that then?
You're wondering, are they playing chess while the town is playing checkers? Are they 6 moves ahead? I think yes, they are.
Yes.
I think the one area where we saw they were not prepared is when Boyd was able to kill the one monster with his worm blood.
That's right. And now they've stepped it up a notch.
Yes.
Because of that, right? They realize, oh, we can't, because now they're just fucking with Boyd.
But if you were the monsters and Boyd finally got one over on you, wouldn't you make it a point of like, all right, motherfucker, you said this place won't break you? Let's see.
I'm sorry, you just said Boyd's line.
Are you saying that the New Yorker in me came out just like the New Yorker in Harold Perrineau came out?
Motherfuckers. Oh my God, that was the best. So when Boyd needs
Can't find the keys, looking for these.
he's a motherfucker. He's just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I was like, I love you, Boyd. Thank you. He's bringing out full on. Harold Perrineau really rocked this scene with just like, I'm done with you people, you monsters. Fuck you, motherfuckers.
I also he's obviously still very tortured and angry about what they made him watch in episode 1, and now it's also they're not doing anything to him, so he's going to have to watch things. But I think he's also sort of towing the line of like, all right, like I'm going to do what I have to do if you want to play chess.
But so they really are toying with him now because they give him, Randall goes to get the key or get the tools off the bus
Yeah.
to help, right?
Yes.
So he's in it helping, and it becomes Boyd's decision, his Sophie's choice, if you will, on who he's going to save. Is he going to take the keys?
Leave it to Diana to bring a very happy reference into this world.
I am the one. I am the one who's not scared of poor Sophie's choice. It is a Sophie's choice, right? That's what they're doing to him. They're making him decide between Randall and
absolutely.
Tabitha, Jim, and who is anyone else in the? I don't know if anyone else is in the ambulance at that point.
No, because the cop runs away. and
Right. The
starts
kids are still in the
shooting.
house.
Yes.
The cop is on her way to Colony House by foot.
Yes.
So he chooses Tabitha and Jim, and he can't save Randall. Do you think that that's going to come back and bite him?
It absolutely will. But now let's get to the question at hand here, which I alluded to in the opening, that poor Randall's literally waiting on the bus.
And actually, if you want to be literal about it, he's on an ambulance now.
Oh, okay. Fair.
They've stuck him on top of the ambulance.
So do you think that he's dead?
Well,
Like he's obviously, we see him gurgling.
Yeah,
not
he's
dead
not
yet, but
dead.
Are we going to open in the next episode and he's...
What
dead.
I'm
I mean, his face is like
is
ripped.
ripped off,
No, I think it's like ripped open because
like Smiley.
it's a really nasty. I don't know. I don't think you were looking at this part. His like where
Like a
they
flap, a
it's a
cheek flap.
I will say the one thing that was less upsetting for me about it was like I couldn't help it. I looked at it, I was like, okay, he's gonna have a bad scar, but you can sew that back together.
But so we still don't know
Yeah.
how people, or if, but I'm assuming
How the
that
people become the monsters.
exactly. I'm assuming people become monsters, but we have not seen how that happens. Or do monsters inhabit dead bodies? Like we
I don't
don't.
know how far we're going to get with this part today, but just to mention something you and I were talking about, which was that all of the people who are monsters in the town, they're all dressed from like what 30s,
The
40s,
50s
50s looking
more. Yeah.
clothes, right? And you know, we were talking about that. It appears that they're probably from that group with Miranda and Eloise, Victor's sister, where everybody died. Is this from that group? Did that group become monsters?
Or
You and I,
some of that
some of
group.
them, and how?
And who, why are they, who
The who,
becomes a
what,
monster?
where.
Yeah.
Well,
And
we
why
have the
of it
where. We
all.
just don't know why.
But my question about that.
Yeah.
So if the monsters are in the 50s clothing because they were taken from that more recent, if we are doing this cycle thing,
Yeah.
and so we're in a new cycle and Victor was the only one to kind of travel from one cycle to the next to survive,
Literally the only person.
how come he doesn't recognize any of the monsters
Oh.
as people from his, is it because he has no memory because he's blocked everything out because he was a child? Or
Well, if correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go through some sort of horrendous traumatic event where your entire town gets murdered, isn't that something where you might completely just block out pieces of
yes,
your
but
history?
and I wonder now that he's remembering, is he going to see a monster and recognize them as someone from that time?
Well, we don't have to get to this yet unless you want to, but we have. That's where I found it really interesting because when Victor's telling his story
Yeah, let's
to,
talk about Victor and
yeah,
Sarah.
let's move into that.
Okay. So Victor, we see, he wanted to set up a fort so that he could tell a ghost story, basically. And he comes into Sarah's house. And so now he's talking to her about how, he came there with his sister, the way she came with her brother, except for the fact that he didn't murder his family.
Great deadpan line.
I love it
from
so
Vic.
much. Well, it's just showing because he's got that childlike quality. He hasn't been around society. So
Right.
I don't know if he's slow based on his, IQ and all of that, or if it's just because he's
How
been
much
stunted.
learning? How much learning did he really do?
Yeah, he's been living alone amongst monsters for how many years before people came to the town again?
Diana, you're an elementary school teacher. How old does the actor playing Little Victor look?
The way I mean, it's so hard because when you're an adult, it's only some characteristics of you that are taking on the childlike nature. The rest of you is not. But
Right.
he does seem more like 8, 9 years old, I would say.
So is that second grade, give or take?
Second, third grade, maybe something
Okay.
like that. But it's hard to say because it's an emotional stunting. But he's
Right, but
had the
because of the
experience.
trauma, and so you don't know where it
Exactly.
started and all and where it
But
went.
and so we see what's in the suitcase,
yes,
and
I thought this was interesting. I think, I don't think this is going nowhere. I saw a couple of people make some comments about, that nothing in the suitcase really jumped out at them. I don't know that anything really is supposed to jump out at us. I feel like that actually was just some world building for us and filling in Victor's story for us a little bit.
Right, well-
Because the picture, this cute little boy who's everyone gets killed and he just has these objects that he keeps, and that's why things like the lunchbox might be so important to him and so
yeah.
on.
Well, and it was just he couldn't bury them all, so he took an item from each of the dead bodies and buried that in the suitcase as a way to kind of honor all of the people who died.
Do you think that Tien Chen's death, because of how we saw Victor react and he wanted to go get that suitcase immediately, was that maybe the first death that affected him in a deep
A long
way
time.
in a long time. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Because he's been isolating himself, right? And alone
Yeah.
for most of this. And it's only been recently, I think I talked about this last time, since Ethan and the Matthews came when he found a connection with Ethan because he's a child and
Right.
so
Right.
they formed a friendship even though Ethan's like a little old man in a child's body and Victor's like a child in, in an old man's body.
Can you do me a favor and just clarify to the audience what we mean by Ethan being a little old man?
He is wise beyond his years.
It's not derogatory.
No, he's an old man. He is not a child, and he doesn't have an ability. He can't be a child. I mean, first he did grow up in a family where a baby died, and so he had to grow up sooner. Even though he has an older sibling who takes care of him, he had to grow up sooner as well. And he sees things and understands things in a way that most children are not looking at the world. He is very much looking at the world from a little old man's perspective. Like,
big ups to him too, the actor, and apologies, I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah.
The kid. I mean, look,
Yeah.
the first season,
I know it was kind of goofy.
it was a little silly and all of that, but I gotta look. I don't like making fun of kid actors. Okay, that's mean, right? But I will happily say, like, hey, this fucking kid finally knows how to act.
Yeah, no, he really does. It's true. I agree. So anyway, we're in the Royal Tenenbaums fort, as you called it earlier, sitting in their blanket fort.
A little different than Luke Wilson and Gwyneth Paltrow.
And we're seeing Victor's memory of everything. And he's starting to see the objects and remember the people and remember what happened. And then he realizes there's nothing of Christopher.
Yes.
I had forgotten about Christopher, but you remembered who Christopher was.
Yes, because he's been referenced. He was one of the first people Victor referenced. Because he had that creepy line where he said, he was always happy and made people smile, and then one day he stopped smiling. Ugh. Do you remember? It was something along those lines.
Something like that. Well, so that's
and then we already knew, which you had forgotten, I think, that Christopher was the one who had been drawing the symbol in the notebook.
Yeah, I had totally forgotten about all of that.
And that was what Tien Chen had given Jade.
Right, and we'll get to that with Jade. But so Victor starts freaking out because he's starting to have a memory that's scary. So luckily Sarah's there with him to remind her that she's the scariest person there. So
and as the scariest person here, you can relate to that.
Yeah, of course. Sarah and I are two peas in a pod. But so of the objects, the dummy, good old Jasper, is missing.
For just real fast, fuck you show.
I hate this thing so much.
I'm accepting the body horror, the gore.
Yeah, it's like Chucky. I don't like dolls coming to life.
Throwing a fucking creepy ventriloquist doll.
It's so rude.
And is it gonna have the Thomas voice?
Yeah, it's really creepy. Have we heard it speak? Because
is it gonna sound like this?
We've seen it a couple times already. We saw it in the caves. Jade saw it in the caves.
That's right. Oof.
Jade saw it in the caves, and Tabitha, I think, saw it in the caves as well. So if he's missing from the suitcase, we can only gather he must be in the caves.
Did it look to you in the memory like the dummy was possessed, or was Christopher just losing his mind and speaking to something he was making
because we
speak?
saw it moving its mouth on its own in a seat across from Christopher. Christopher was not holding it, and it was talking. It was moving its mouth, talking back to Christopher.
Are we past the possibility of shared hallucinations in this land?
Oh, or if Victor was... But then how do we anchor anything if they're just sharing hallucinations?
That's I don't think that is a way.
We
for this
have
show.
people who see the same hallucinations, but not at the same time, I guess. Like people see the boy in... Only some people see the boy in white.
Yes. Only Tabitha saw the creepy kids.
But I don't...
Only
think...
Jade's seen the weird trapper drinking
Right, so it
out of
could
the
be,
skull.
but regardless, Victor saw it talking and saw Christopher talking. I'm wondering, we haven't seen Christopher. Is Christopher a monster now? What happened to... Did Christopher die? Do we know what happened to Christopher?
They're setting Christopher up for something where he's... I don't think this is it, but it definitely is along the lines of like, maybe Christopher's the dark entity.
Could be. But it seems like Jasper, fucking creepy doll, I think he's the dark entity.
So
I'm
this
really,
could
I'm
be.
really,
Are you suggesting
ugh.
this could be like a Chucky type of
I really don't want to go
thing?
there because that
What's
freaked
your
me out
favorite
as a
movie?
kid. I saw it. I don't know why I would ever have
Your
seen that.
favorite thing is movies about serial killers inhabiting
Oh
the
my God,
bodies of
it's
dolls.
it's really not okay. I mean, the fact that I have come to From and I can watch this show and I'm okay is one thing, but the doll, no.
We're going back to the recap in a second. I just want to ask you because I have found a lot of people are checking out this show because, it's got a fun premise and
Yes.
people are into it. But a lot of people like you who are not generally into the scary, spooky stuff and all of that are into From. What brings you to this
Well,
kind of show?
you?
Well,
I
yes,
was
my
just
influence.
like others. I was forced into it by a partner who likes to watch
Oh,
scary
but come
shit.
on. I don't make you watch stuff that you
No,
don't
and it's true
like.
because I watched Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I watched Hannibal, which is probably one of the like that TV show.
You referenced this
I
like
I
last
know
week, I think.
because I loved it so much because I love anything psychological, anything that's kind of getting your mind, and I'll get through. And the horror stuff doesn't bother me. The thing that I really don't like is jump scares and things where
And
the
that's why.
monster turns into a monster like all of a sudden. That stuff
Is
scares me
that
a
why
lot.
you hate things like 80s slasher films? Because
Yeah,
it's
I
just
that
jumping
and with
out
the
and.
music, like
Yeah.
the anticipation, the suspense, I can't handle that kind of suspense. Like something that really freaked me out back in the day was Copycat, that movie with
Oh,
Harry
Harry
Connick
Connick
Jr.
Jr. Was
and
that Sigourney Weaver?
Sigourney Weaver. That those kind of movies really freak me out. I don't know. It's too real.
For the
From
record,
like this kind of stuff, it's campy. If I end up in Fromville, like that will be incredible.
I think that Diana is just more afraid of things that she feels could happen. Like,
Yes.
I'm going to say something now and she's going to be upset, but I'm just doing it for the audience. I do a lot of impressions and repeat a lot of things from movies and stuff. Her least favorite bit I ever do is Robert De Niro in the
Fuck
remake of
you
Cape
already.
Fear, which is sitting in the back of the movie theater and and then you hear, come out wherever you are.
I'm seriously going to murder your face. I really hate that so
Are you
much.
going to rip my cheek
I'm going to
off?
rip your cheek off. Yes, that's what we're doing next.
Before we move ahead, we left out one. Can you just rewind to Colony House for a
Oh, yeah, we
second?
haven't even
And
really talked about Colony
yeah, but
House.
we were dancing around this.
Okay.
So Nikki's dead.
But first, they
But
start at Colony House. The bird. That bird is dead.
I'm Brian Fellows.
That bird is dead.
Yes, there is a very dead crow from the tarot reading last week. Now, I'm very into the tarot stuff. Do you think that this is a major part of the show, or do you think it's more of like a red herring?
Well, it was interesting. The bus driver, what's her name again?
Bacta.
Bacta, brought that up to Tilly and said, "What the hell are you doing tarot in this fucked up place? Like, what's the matter with you?" Which I can't say that she's wrong because tarot picks up on the energies around you, right? And if you're in like hell or wherever the hell they are, you're not getting positive tarot readings, are you?
Would you make a Ouija board if you were there?
Fuck. Would the Ouija board connect to people on the outside?
I would be curious because aren't you almost a
Ooh.
spirit at that point?
Yes, that's interesting. Oh, I like that. So maybe they need a Ouija board to connect to the real world.
I mean, you could start by making a joke like, "What are they going to do? Use a Ouija board?" But it becomes, well, why not?
right. Well, so okay, Tabitha last week we had been pondering was the town real that she was in? Was she really in Camden, Maine? And it seems like she had to be in the real world at some point because now we've got Henry, who may not be part of the real world actually, but now we've also got this cop who
The
has
cop,
come
at
in.
least, I'll say, the cop at least definitely believes she's from the real
Yeah,
world.
that's true. Yeah, she does not believe like this. So I mean, it's sad that she shoots Nikki through the window, but really, it's not that sad. I think we're all okay with that. But so I want to talk a little bit about Marielle.
Oh, before you do,
Yeah.
were
No,
is this Marielle's CPR abilities?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because
That's what I was
okay,
going to say.
if Nikki is coughing up blood because now we realize she has internal bleeding. I've watched enough TV to know that the first thing you're going to try and do is get a stint in there so that you need to drink because the blood is filling her lungs and so she's going to die
Diana,
because she's going to
Diana,
suffocate.
give yourself a little bit more credit. I'm pretty sure if you've never watched TV and you saw someone coughing blood up, you might turn them on their side.
I mean, yeah, like don't keep her on her back so she can keep choking on her blood. And there's no, I mean, what is it? In all these things, they stick a pen into your chest and then the blood
To aspirate.
aspirate your
Yeah.
lungs. I mean, there was no effort here. I don't think anyone really cared if Nikki lived or died.
I think that we've officially seen, not that I thought Marielle was anywhere near Christie's level of ability, but I think we've officially seen beyond their regular choices why Ellis and Fatima were like, yeah, no, her tooth did fall out of her face, but sort of cool waiting for Christy.
Should we just wait for Christy on this one? Yeah, let's wait for Christy to come back while she just got shot in the stomach, is gushing blood. Also, before she took the bullet out, she didn't do any pressure to try and stop the bleeding. She's like, we just got to get the bullet out.
No, I thought there would be like a blood
towels.
T-shirt. Now, let me ask you, do we blame the set design or do we blame Marielle?
Yeah, is Marielle an idiot, or is it really that they just didn't care to enter into this? What do you think? Is it
I think
Marielle the character, or is it the writing or the show?
I think that they don't want her to be taken seriously by the audience or the people there, so this was a very convenient way to make her look somewhat inept.
Right, just like she notices that Fatima looks so much better after she's been eating.
Yes, yes.
Eating the dead, rotting food. But her color has come back. Her tongue looks healthy again.
She can't smell good. Because if you've ever been around, like, and no offense to my vegan friends out there, but sometimes vegans, just because of what they're eating,
the odor coming off.
It's a different type of
but
pH
I mean,
balance.
don't you think everyone kind of smells bad in this town? Like, how many showers are there?
What is the deal with that? There's like one bathroom in Colony House, and I feel like we've never seen anyone take a shower.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the showering is happening. So I'm sure pretty much nobody smells good. So you get used to the nasty smell, and then there's rotting food all around them that they're composting.
Do they find like any Drakkar Noir somewhere? Like, so it's like old France where everyone was stinky, but
some potpourri
like
in the brassiere, that kind of move, something like that.
Exactly.
But so we also then in Colony House have Tilly and Elgin sitting together, and this is actually a really interesting scene because first of all, Tilly is only concerned about Fatima. She's like, she's talking. She's like, I'm so worried about her. I hope everything's okay. And you're like, oh yeah, talking about Nikki. Nope. Talking about Fatima. Couldn't care less, like everyone, about Nikki. Have I told you people don't give a shit about Nikki yet?
You have, especially Tilly, who I'm super creeped out by her at this point. Obviously, many people are questioning if, with all of the things around her, with especially I was looking back on some of the earlier episodes when the bus first got there. She's dancing in the rain.
She was so stoked to get to the town.
Excited to be in Fromville. Excited.
Yeah, why? Do we really know why? We don't know what, but she dreamed of it, right?
She said she dreamed of it,
so she was excited to be there. Is she still?
Is she? And we don't know this, but is she the reason they ended up there? Is Elgin the reason they ended up there?
And I know some theories have speculated that she has been there before because she's dreamed of it. I don't know when she would have been there before. Are they talking in another life?
Yeah, but that doesn't even make sense because it becomes really clear from talking to Henry that Miranda had full visions and dreams of the place before she was ever there.
Right. So you can dream about it and think about it and know about it without actually having been there.
And how do we even know? Is this not a place you can enter in your dreamscape? Like, we don't have those types of answers.
Yeah, we don't know about that. But what we do know is that Elgin sees our kimono friend again.
Yes.
And he asks Tilly if he is dreaming because he's only ever seen her when he's dreaming. But Tilly doesn't see her, or at least doesn't allude to seeing her. Maybe she sees her and isn't talking about it. But he follows her in sort of like a sleepwalk sort of vibe.
Why do you say sort of like a sleepwalk?
I don't know.
Vibe?
It feels just kind of like he's following her, but he's not really in the world. But he also always kind of feels that way, like he's in and out of consciousness or something. It's hard to. He doesn't know when he's awake or dreaming.
I'm going to say right now that My man Elgin has legit not had like a solid hour of sleep. He has not hit a REM cycle since before he was in
Well, I think he
From.
did, and then a bird flew through the window and smashed into bloody bits.
And now the poor guy's like never going to sleep ever again.
Yeah, exactly. But so this is interesting because the kimono ghost woman actually asks him to help her.
And this was the first time that she did anything other than be sort of pushy, let's
Right, or
call
drown
it.
him. She tried to drown him at one
Which,
time.
which you and I and Michelle have surmised. We think that she was protecting him from the music box
Right, so that he wouldn't hear it. So is she actually trying to drown him to kill him or just hold him somewhere where he couldn't hear the music
for
box?
20 seconds or whatever.
I mean, at this point, I know Michelle's been totally on the side of this kimono chick is not bad, that she is just needing help, that she is trapped in there, and we've heard a lot, and hopefully Michelle next week will talk more about the lore.
Yes.
But are we at the point where we can say we don't think that she's bad? Because I don't think she's evil or bad. I think she's trying to communicate and trying to be heard and to be saved from whatever in between she's in.
If we remove that she tried to drown Elgin, if we say she wasn't trying to drown him, then what did she even do that was bad?
She's just been kind of haunting him, and don't we
It's
know
just
usually?
scary.
Yeah, she looks terrifying. I mean, girl needs to eat, but like she's just been haunting him, and we know that ghosts haunt usually because they need help with something in order to move on. So maybe that's just what she's been doing. She found someone who can see her in Elgin, and she's trying to, be heard.
And if there's any place, whatever your feelings on ghosts are, if there's any place where a ghost would appear and ask for some help, it's probably Fromville.
You questioned if she was Miranda. Do you still think that she could be somehow Victor's mom? Does that make sense in any way?
I don't like it, and
But
it's
it's-
not what I would want to write, and it's not
Okay.
what I want the story to do. But it did come into my mind as well. That's not impossible.
Yeah. And then she looks sort of like Fatima, although the more we're seeing her, her hair is straight, not curly.
Yes,
She's looking less and less like Fatima.
I do think that was maybe intentional for it to throw off the audience.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, is Fatima's Rosemary's Baby pregnancy maybe separating her from Kimono Woman, if they had any connection?
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't know. Okay, so then can we talk about Fatima and her hunger?
Are you talking about how Fatima chose to honor Nikki?
You mean finger her stomach? She fingered that hole really well.
As a young man, this is not the type of women fingering women I thought I would see.
This is not what you like to see. Well, so she wants to do this from the get, right? First of all, why is Nikki being laid in a bed?
Okay, that was the first
Who
thing
puts
I
a
said.
dead body in a bed?
Also, why would you put a bloody dead body? I get it's night and they can't take her outside.
Why
and
on
bury
the
her
bed
yet.
where other people could sleep?
Leave her in the kitchen wherever you were butchering the hog. And also,
That's how much we care about you, Nikki.
It's winter. Is no one is the only cannibalism going to be this this Fatima light cannibalism?
Light cannibalism, yes. Just a little finger licking good.
This went a little bit too much for me.
You really couldn't look at it either. I saw you turn
because
away.
it looked like she was going to start fisting her stomach. It was disgusting.
I thought she might pull something out of there. I was waiting for her to like grab something and pull it out.
That's what you picked up on. Why I started getting really uptight when we were watching it. Is I started thinking like, this is gonna be like a whole liver.
Yeah, she's gonna pull out a. Just take a nice juicy bite with some Chianti.
Does this officially move everybody who's like, no, she's eating rotten food because women eat fermented food when they're pregnant?
They also like to eat the blood of their passed on roommates. So watch out, roomies.
Are you surprised that no one came to immediately steal Nikki's belongings and clothing?
Yes, that's because Dale's not there. We didn't get to see Dale this week, and I'm so sad about that. Dale was, I guess, in a
Where
different
is
cabin.
Dale?
Well, he's in one of the cabins, but I guess we were only in the cabin with Christy and Kenny and Jade.
So is Dale in the other cabin alone with that woman who was with
Yeah, and
them?
the couple other randos who don't have names
We
or
love that, by the way. We love how they try to
the
pad
extras.
how they pad the town. I don't know what the number of town and colony house total is. Please get at us in the email and the notes here if you do, because I have logistical questions about how From works. I really do, and I'm not gonna
I still want a map.
See, I know you keep asking that, but and you don't play video games like this, and I haven't played video games in a while, but something which you can relate to, and maybe others on here who don't play games can relate to, but maybe did watch the Fallout TV show, which is based on video games. I
That's
just
true.
was
So the
asking.
map,
Yes, sorry. Thank
the
you.
map, which
The
I
map,
still want,
which I was going to say, so you might, I can picture it would be much more of like a three-dimensional
layered,
map.
right?
Yes, layers, exactly. Oh, so you get it.
I do. I remember when Mario Brothers went to like the weird Wii Mario, and then it became like
Mario
a
World.
cube, and I hated it all. I only like old school, like flat Mario. Do 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 do. That's it. That's all I want. Well, so we only are in the cabin section for a very brief time with Christy and Kenny, and then Jade pops up with his flask, which I appreciate. Thank you, Jade.
I did. So we have. So is Christie's ankle? It was dislocated. Is it
Yeah.
not broken?
Well, I don't know. When something gets dislocated, does it also get broken?
No,
Or
not
they popped it back
necessarily.
in, but it's very sore.
But it's probably. But she also. I mean, the teeth did catch her.
Yeah. I mean,
flesh.
she's in, yeah, so she's
But I
also
don't think
cut up,
I don't
probably, and
think
bruised.
I don't think she's in a position. I don't think her foot's in danger of being lost. Or anything
No, I
like
don't
that.
think so. I think she's just in pain.
Do you get anything from the leftover romantic interest that Kenny had?
Well, yeah, because when he's talking about how he only really has, he's writing his mom a letter because that's what you do for the people who've
Yes.
died in his culture, and on a holiday, even though this isn't a holiday, I guess. And so he's writing her a letter, and he says to Christy that the only two people he would talk, he now doesn't know what he would be going back to, which is sad, but also you don't go back to for your parents. I feel like you go back for your future. And so anyway, he doesn't know what he would go back to the real world for, and the only people he really talked to were his mom and Christy. And part of that felt a little bit like, and now I don't really even have you.
That's what I think. That's what I was trying to
because
get
your
at.
girlfriend
with you a
is
little
here
bit.
now, and like,
Oh, because you got Marielle
yeah,
now.
exactly. Which do you really? You're so you like Kenny better than you like her. You just feel obligated to be with her. I think.
I think you're right. Because weren't they engaged or
Yes,
discussing marriage?
they were engaged.
Marielle
And Christy were engaged
before Christy
Yes,
ended
but
up
then
in From.
exactly.
I feel, and I know we haven't seen a lot of them together. It feels to me more of an obligation from Christy in the sense of I owe it to my partner. I'm not just going to leave her now that we're here, but I don't feel any love.
Not really. Yeah, it just feels more like obligation to me.
Yeah.
But so
Familiarity.
there's not a lot that happens in the cabin, but except for it's really nice. Jade tells them all about the hallucinations he's been having, and
Right.
you don't have to hear it. It's off camera, so thank you. We don't need to hear a retell.
I did really appreciate
right?
the way they did
They
that.
did that well. But then he talks about the Notebook, and that's
The
where you were
movie?
saying the Notebook. Yeah, the movie The Notebook. He thought it was one of his favorite romantic films of the century. But
Sorry, we
didn't-
got to be a little goofy here.
I
It's a
didn't think
serious
about
thing.
that the Notebook was Christopher's, and Christopher started having hallucinations and talking to his dummy Jasper and all of this, and now Jade is also
Yes.
having these hallucinations. So if we can find out what happened to Christopher, we might know what could happen to Jade if they don't figure something out.
Do you think if Jade knocks off the gets off the bottle a little bit, do you think he might figure that out?
Yeah, well, he was talking about how he felt he should have been smart enough to figure this stuff out, and he can't. And I think that's what they're all feeling in a lot of ways. Tabitha saying the same thing, and then Boyd all feeling like they should know better and they should be smart enough. Who the hell has ever been in any of these experiences before? Like the hubris that you should be able to figure this out. Where do you think you are? Like, I'm sorry. I don't think so. But I do think, just like everything, it goes back to the idea of that Boyd's fake wife said that the town feeds off the suffering. And
Yes.
that's what this is all, finding ways to make them suffer. And I think you're right. I think they upped it a level when Boyd kind of got them, because it's a game for them. It's a cat and mouse, game of chess, like you said.
Yes.
And they felt like they lost the upper hand when Boyd transferred the worms and killed the monster, because that was the first time anything like that has happened, at least that
Exactly.
we've seen.
Yeah.
So now they're stepping it up a notch, and they're going to make these people suffer and suffer and
That's the
suffer.
part that really, to me, reads as that this is some sort of experiment or game or whatever you want to say. Whether you go the avenue of there are rich guys in a boardroom somewhere watching this for fun on video. Like, yeah, I could see that being a thing. I could also see this be purgatory or something like that. But I do think that I think it gives credence to the fact that there is someone watching and manipulating this.
Yeah.
Because why do the phone calls? Why do these
Right.
little like jabs and fuckwits?
Well, and then we don't really know, because the cycle thing keeps coming up about how, we're seeing people from different time periods, and that there was the cycle that Victor was in as a child, that he was the only one who made it through. And they killed everyone. Does it restart when the monsters, or whoever's controlling the monsters, wins? I mean, does it completely vanish if they actually lose for good? I don't think they've ever completely lost. I think what happens, how do they get to the point where they end the round, end the game? It's like Squid Game. Like, when does the round actually
Well,
end?
you have to kill one of the bosses. You get right. You have like levels because it
But no,
does.
why did they kill off all of Victor's? Because his mom was getting too close.
Yes.
So they killed that whole round. They were like, "Fuck you, then, huh?
Oh.
It's my house, my rules."
Ooh.
Like, are they like the only child of this universe? It's my house, my rules. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Now that sounds like maybe this ratcheting up of this. If Tabitha's getting too close, like Miranda did, are they about? Is this how it started last time?
Right.
Did they make Christopher watch? Did Christopher stop being a funny, nice guy because he had to watch a lot of people he cared about get murdered? Like, is this their game? Is this their hand that they're going to play for everybody?
Yep. And as usual, more questions, fewer answers, which is what keeps it fun.
I am loving where the season's going, though. I famously on this podcast, on our first episode covering the season, we all had a pretty tough time with
It was
that
pretty
episode.
dark.
Second episode was great acting, very heavy.
So sad.
I'm enjoying that now we're back to kind of the salad days of From.
Yeah, the fun.
Yes.
I mean, it's the fun. I mean, we were all really depressed when Nikki died, as I've said. But other than that, it's been a really fun couple of episodes again.
You mentioned it. I just want to say again, because I think David Alpay as Jade has just been doing such a great job. I love the character, and I loved the note that I think you mentioned just about how he was talking about how he cared about Tien Chen.
Yes.
And that she used to make him tea, and that
And Kenny said that she loved him, and he was like, "Well, she tolerated me." And Kenny said, "No, she loved you. She only frowned at the people she loved or liked."
That was very relatable.
Yeah, appreciated that.
And I like that. And there's a lot of heart to the show in between all the other stuff, and it's a bit out of character for a show like this. IMO,
Yeah.
that there's so much feeling and thought behind the characters.
They've found a good groove. I'm so glad, and I think they have been picked up for another season.
Yes.
As far as I've heard, we didn't get. I know we don't often get a next on, but usually you can find it on YouTube. The next episode, and there's nothing for episode 5.
I think they're doing my favorite thing, which is if your trailer is going to ruin next week's episode, I'll just tune in. Don't worry about it.
There's some notes about it, but we don't know. We don't get to see a trailer. We haven't seen anything. So I love a good trailer, but it's okay. I'll wait. I can wait till next week.
I'm going to go try and find something to eat that's not fermented, rotten, or bloody right now. What are your plans for the rest of the evening, sweetheart?
I'm gonna go finger my dead roomie's stomach.
Oh, that's where Michelle is. Just kidding. We love you, Michelle.
I love you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back. We're trying to get these out on hopefully on Sundays. Also, please email us. It'll be in the notes. You can just click it. It's apngpod@gmail.com. And if you go into our notes, I also have a link there for all of our socials and all of that. And we've been getting a lot of people. Thank you again. And thank you for all the awesome reviews we've been getting. And we'd love for everyone to come in. We also have a Facebook group trying to grow the From presence in there. So please feel free to reach out on our Instagram account, email. And I would, again, any of us would love to interface with anyone who would like to chat with us.
And if you need a break from this very heavy From experience, we always cover some fun reality shows, which I find sometimes heavier than this nonsense. But we got the 90-Day Universe. We're going to be doing another Love is Blind. So come check us out if you want some fun reality fodder
And
as
we
well.
also, which is this very nascent stages of this, but we're also adding a show which I don't know if it's going to be public or Patreon. It's going to be more of a chit chat with the three of us and talking about some stuff going on in our lives and all of that. And here's the part where we do have Patreon, and you get ad-free episodes. You get bonus episodes. You get video. You can see our pretty faces and all of this. And right now, not going to go into a whole thing about it, but Patreon's changing their stuff in November, and everything's going to cost more money. If you get in at the $5, $10, or $15 level now, that will be locked in. So if you can always try us out and see what you like. But if you want to try us out, I would encourage you to do it before November when the rules change for Patreon. Thank you so much, everybody. We will be back with Not From coverage later this week, and we will be back next weekend with From episode 5.
We love you. That's it.